the Sci-Fi Sisters. We're so happy to be joining you today at Trek Talks 3, benefiting Hollywood Food Coalition. What's up? Whoop,
Whoop,
whoop.
whoop, whoop.
Yeah. And we're really so excited to be here to bring you this panel, Tomorrow's Yesterdays, a retrospective of women in Star Trek. And when we say women in Star Trek, we're particularly talking about Black women in Star Trek.
Yes.
That's what we do. And that's what we're talking about. And we hope that you love this panel and that you all do what, sisters?
Donate.
Donate. Open up those Trekkie wallets, please, and donate to this amazing cause. I'm going to introduce, I've got my sisters with me. I got my sisters in me. Hey, we are oh, well, I'm about to get charged for that. Here you go. Okay, Yvette Blackman Tom.
Woo, how you doing?
Sabrina Wood.
Whoop, whoop.
Fran T.
What's happening?
And we've got this amazing panel of amazing women, and every sister up here is seriously geeking out, and we're very much trying to hold it together because we've never been in so much royalty all at one time. It's kind of overwhelming. So you're going to hear me say some crazy things, but that's just because I'm super excited that I'm here with these. We're talking about in front of the camera, behind the camera. We're talking about our activists and warriors, and we're talking about our first fully pipped captain. So, representing in front of the camera, we have Ms. Marian Smothers, the sister of Nichelle Nichols, y'all. Hi, Ms. Smothers.
Legend.
Yes. Behind the camera, AD extraordinaire, the woman who makes it all happen, Ms. Adele Simmons.
Yay!
Our activist and warrior. I've loved her since the very first moment I ever saw her on television, way back in NYPD Blue days. Ms. Nichelle Hurd.
Yay! Yes, mother.
And last but certainly not least, our fully pipped captain, fully realized captain on the bridge, no joking around about it. She came into our lives and she was there, fully realized. I knew her as Jaleesa first, but I love her now as my captain, Ms. Dawnn Lewis.
Yeah.
Hello there. Y'all, we are so ecstatic that you guys are here with us today. I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. We're going to get right into it. Fran, I know. Oh, no, Sabrina, you've got questions to start off for Ms. Smothers, right?
I do indeed. So we've all heard a story from a fan about the first time they saw Nichelle Nichols on the bridge of the Enterprise. And we've all got a story and we've all heard a story. But what I would like to know is, what was it like in the Nichols household when you saw that show?
It was amazing. But as you know, when we were younger, we looked a lot alike. And of course, our voices, all of us sisters, sound alike. And so I was raising children, but on the side, I was dabbling, going to little interviews here and there and stuff. And some of my good friends knew that. Not everybody did. But sure as shooting, some people thought it was me. They'd heard my voice first. They went running into the room, and then they see what they thought was me. They said it looked like me. They weren't sure it was me. And they'd call, and I'd tell them, no, that is not me. That is Nichelle. No way, Jose. So, but that was funny for me to hear people say mostly our voices sound so much alike, you know, and that they would know us anywhere just because they heard our voices, not necessarily that we looked alike, but the voices.
Okay.
But my mother, Nichelle, called her Duchess, and she was just so proud. I can't tell you, you know, because Nichelle had worked for a while, started off as a dancer, and my mother encouraged her and took her places on interviews and stuff as a young woman. And when she still needed to have a chaperone, she was working at 16 and 17 years old. And my mother, of course, was her chaperone. And so this was just so wonderful to see her on television. We had seen Julia, and that was kind of different, you know. But then when she came on the scene, it was marvelous for us. It
Oh,
really, really was.
I just want to remind you, your sister was before Julia. Your sister was in 66 and Julia was in 68.
Wow.
That's right. That's right. You know what? I'd forgotten that. There's a lot that I have forgotten.
That's okay. Me too. But
Thank you.
because I got in an argument with somebody about that. But I'm like, no, Miss Nichols was first.
All
Diane
right.
did
Carl
that
was
research.
second.
You did that
Excuse me?
research. You're like, I know my facts.
I know,
She
I
does.
know.
Thank you.
Like,
There's
okay.
there's a lot of course was going on in my life during that time, and so we were kind of just watching like everyone else was, and very happy for it. She lived in the neighborhood, you know. I saw her all the time. My kids were around her all the time. And as babies, they coined a phrase for her because for a while, my younger sister lived with Nichelle and mom after my dad died. Oh, for about maybe a year and a half. I can't remember exactly. But Kyle, Nichelle's son, was, I guess about 10, somewhere around there. And we had younger kids coming up. And so to make a long story short, because this could get real long, one of the Nichelle's nephews was my other sister's son, lived in the household, and he heard her being called mom. He heard her being called Nichelle or Shelley. He called her being auntie. To him, she was auntie. So he called, just out of the 2.5-year-old little baby brain came Auntie Shelley mom. And that is what Nichelle became from that point on. And that's way back in the 60s. And so even up until the day she died, to my kids, my sister's kids, and all of the family, that's all we ever called her, was Auntie Shelley mom.
Oh, I love that.
That's a great
And
story.
she loved it.
She
I called her
loved it.
auntie also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Auntie
So
Shelley
it was
mom.
really funny.
I didn't do the Shelly mom part.
And you knew the Shelley mom part.
I didn't. No, I would call her Auntie Nichelle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Auntie
Yeah, that was the babies. The babies did that.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah.
thank
So
you so much.
I
for
feel
that.
so honored to be included with you guys today. You are so accomplished and wonderful, and I'm just honored to be included as royalty.
Oh, yes.
And I try to represent my sister as best I can. It's really hard to do, but I'm just blessed that I'm still here, and I can talk to you about her.
I don't
We appreciate
speak out
that.
of turn, but I'm going to speak
And
out of
that
turn.
feels great. And Dawnn, it's so good to see you.
Always wonderful to see you, Marian. But you got to know how each of us feel
Yeah.
about your sister. Each
I
of us,
know.
we are here, literally on the shoulders of your sister, and you knew her best. I know of the siblings, the two of you were really the closest.
Very close. Yes.
So for her not to be here, you are an absolutely blessed representative
Yes.
for the woman that we wish we could to this day continue to say thank you to and to honor. So
Thank
you are absolutely royalty. You are. And
Thank
you know,
you.
I love you
Thank
dearly.
you so much. That just is so gratifying, and I appreciate it so much. I do. And I carry her with me every day. Every day.
It's so beautiful to hear you all speak of that. It was actually something that I was going to ask you about because, I come from, like, my father was a vocalist. He sang with the Adeles, and he also sang with the Flamingos. And, I came late in my life to understand the importance of continuing on his legacy, to making sure that what he and the other men in his groups contributed to American society and culture is protected,
Mhm.
and also lives on, and that people know their names and know who they're from. Like my sisters, my older sisters, they were in it more, but it took me a while to understand the importance of that. And then so I was thinking about your role now, like protecting her legacy and and really making sure that people know who she is. A lot of us do, but I feel like there's something very much to be protected.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. As you know, I was I had to step down as the president for the foundation because my husband's illness, and I just couldn't. Just felt like I couldn't be everything that I wanted to be with that happening in my life. He had 3 surgeries last year,
Mm.
and each one um, just kind of brought him down a little bit and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so finally, about the middle of last year, I just like with a bunch of other things that were going on, and I had to step down from it. But I still try to know what's going on. Like today, they had this launch. They
Yeah.
launched her
Mhm.
remains into space today.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
and so I followed along with that this morning, and then again this afternoon, um, and that just brought up a lot of other stuff.
I'm sure.
Marian, as far as I know, you're going to be spearheading a whole other movement in honor of Nichelle and Nichelle's legacy, not necessarily the Nichelle Nichols Foundation, but something else to encourage young people, particularly young girls, into science and STEM and STEAM as well.
And I will continue to use her name, my name,
Mhm.
to help to promote that as best I can. Um, yes, I am working with some people right now, and I can't really talk about it, but
Can't go into it, right?
it's
I got
I
you.
guess that's what my role will be for a while,
Yeah.
just making sure that her name is, her legacy is preserved, and that in the right way.
Yes. Mhm.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say that's one of the things that is beautiful about the arts, about being an artist, because as we all know right now, our history is trying to be being erased.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh my
And
God.
they're going to try to do what they can with not teaching history, cherry picking history, not allowing books to be read. But you know what? As actors, we will continue to speak these words. We will continue to show our presence
Yep.
Please,
visual out there,
absolutely do.
and
Yes.
we will keep her mission and her gift to us all alive through the arts, because
Right.
they're not going to silence us. They're not going
Yeah.
to.
That's
Okay,
right.
okay,
That's right.
warrior, Miss Hurd.
I can't help it, y'all. I can't help it.
We know.
I cannot believe we went through what we went through in the 60s and 70s, and with all the stuff we fought for and gained, and then to look up 60 years later, and we're trying to fight for it all over again. It's just mind-boggling.
Exactly.
Mind
I think part of
Yeah.
that happens when we don't make it a point to say the names.
Right.
When we don't make it a point, we have moved on from the
Yes.
legacy of the griot, of the spoken words. And whether it's written down or not,
Thank you.
somebody knows. And
Yes.
the truth is being told and retold, so it's not so easily forgotten. And
Mhm.
Okay.
so I believe that's where we are now. And you
Yeah.
see more and more people speaking up, and you think, oh my gosh, this is a new thing. No,
Nope.
this is
Yeah, right.
this has been going on. Unfair pay, unfair work conditions, unfair contracts, unfair. I mean, it's just the list goes on, and they are
Mhm.
not isolated incidents. And if the months of 2023 demonstrated anything, it's that across the board, people have said, I've had enough.
Right.
That's
Yep.
why we were able to see the solidarity that we saw.
Mhm.
That's how we were able to see the needle move the
Yep.
way that it did. And there's still so much more movement to be had.
Oh yes.
But we're in a much
Okay.
better place than when we started. And it's because we stood and we spoke out and we
That's right.
standed in strength, in unity together across the board.
Solidarity. That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Solidarity. Mhm.
It was
Even-
no more us and them. It's like
Right.
we.
We.
We,
are
right, the
Mhm.
we.
Mm.
Mhm.
We
But
are.
speaking of like how this is not a new issue and these are not new issues, you know, Miss Adele, you've been in the trenches, you were in the trenches a long time and you were one of the only Black faces in there, right? Fran, you have some questions for Miss Adele, right?
I sure do.
That's
Miss
right.
Adele, I
Yes,
saw
ma'am.
where you were the AD for 126 episodes of TNG and 34
All
episodes of
7 seasons.
Mhm.
all
Yes.
7. All right, and
I
34
I
episodes.
started on the pilot and
Okay.
then went on after TNG to do 5 seasons of Voyager.
Mm.
Okay. Can you explain? I'm a credit reader, but not all people are. Could you explain the job you did, please?
Yeah, I started off at the bottom of the rung on the production ladder, and as you move up and you become first AD, it's very much like the position that Commander Riker held,
Mm,
where you are the director's executive officer.
mhm.
So if the director wants something done, he doesn't run around and tell everybody. He tells his executive officer, his first AD, okay, I want to print this, move on, turn around. And then the AD is the one that says, okay, take that wall out, get the actors in touch up. We're going to turn around, everybody out of here. So you're really kind of running the ship on the director's behalf while he's usually on the phone with his agent. I shouldn't say that, but it's true. So when I started, you know, I was 17 in 1967 when the original series aired. So when I came to The Next Generation, I was fully invested in this show, had been a fan for 20 years. I worked with Diane Carroll the year before on Dynasty, and I had watched Julia. I had seen her on Broadway in No Strings, and I was just gobsmacked to be in the presence of this woman. Never did I know that I was going to be walking in the footsteps behind the scenes of Nichelle Nichols. I met Nichelle 3 times. She came to visit the set. The last time was to honor Mae Jameson. And whenever I would meet Nichelle, you cannot imagine anyone as gracious, as kind. She knew my name. She gave me a hug. She called me by my name. She was so encouraging of me in that position because it was still an all-white environment.
Mhm.
When I looked around many a night, there just were no other people of color. There weren't. It just wasn't. I think we had one electrician, Ralph.
Oh my goodness.
There were
Wow.
no Black writers, no Black producers. None of that was happening yet.
She
So
understood that and could walk that walk with you while you were
yeah,
going through it because she was still going through it.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think she sensed that and she had empathy for that. When I started, I counted on my fingers how many assistant directors, Black female assistant directors there were who worked consistently enough to support themselves. There were 10,
Mm.
all knew each other. When
Mhm.
I retired in 2003, there were 8. So we were not moving
Wow.
in the right direction.
Wow.
Shonda Rhimes and the Me Too movement and everything that has happened subsequently came much later. And I owe so much to Patrick Stewart, who championed me every step of the way.
Mm.
He is exactly the person you want to believe he is,
Wow.
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 which is somewhat of a rarity in this. It's not so rare, but they have a saying in this business: if you have a hero, an actor that you really admire and love, do everything you can to not work with them.
Yeah, isn't it sad? Isn't it sad? That's such a saying. It's true.
And it is
Wow.
a truism in this business. So
Michelle and I are amazing.
That's right.
yes, you are.
Yes.
Yes, you
Good.
are.
What you see is what you get.
So yeah, I had an amazing ride, very fortunate. Considering my very first job interview when I walked in to apply for the assistant director, the Directors Guild training program, the first question out of their mouths, this panel of men that were interviewing me, was, so does your husband approve of you taking this job?
Wow.
God, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first word out of
Wow.
their mouths. And I was so taken aback. I didn't know what to say. I said, oh yeah, he's looking forward to having a rich wife. He wants to retire. But I knew in that moment, don't tell them you have a child.
Mm.
And I found out later, after I was in and everything had gone well and we all knew each other, they told me, if you had mentioned you had a child, you wouldn't have gotten in. So I was really the first female assistant director who was a parent and made it possible for the women who came after me to be both a parent and have a career.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's been a long road.
It sounds like it. Oh my gosh.
Mm. Thank you for that. Thank you for
Right.
busting up.
Yes,
Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
perseverance.
Perseverance, yeah.
And you still look amazing.
Yes,
Oh,
you
yes.
Oh, right?
Fabulous.
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 Gorgeous. Just gorgeous.
Did you find you were on Voyager, and I mean you were behind the scenes at Voyager and TNG. Did you find a difference between one having the strong male lead and the strong they both have strong leads. One was male, one was female. Did that make a difference at all in your job or the way that you saw things with them?
It didn't make a difference in my job per se. It made a difference, the dynamic kind of changed when when Voyager came in with so much expectation. When TNG launched, the actors were they were like children. They were carefree and, oh, we're going to do this little show and it doesn't matter and we're going to be fine. And, we're just going to have fun for a season and then it's going to be over and we'll all go on to do other things. And so at the end of that first year, when they realized, no, you guys are entering into the American cultural icon category, they couldn't have been more surprised. But by then, everyone had already coalesced as friends, as buddies. They really were a family. You, I'm sure, know from having worked with them, Michelle, what a good gang they were, how just easygoing. I mean, no one could be funnier than Jonathan Frakes.
I mean,
It was really a family that kind of grew together. I remember the day that Jonathan was directing and holding his newborn infant son in his arms. And he looked up and he looked at me and he said, oh my God, I realize I'm directing this TV show and I have my son in my arms. And it must have been really a high point in his life.
Mm.
So, we just kind of all grew up together on that show. When Voyager came in, they had some big footsteps to fill.
Mhm.
And they felt that pressure. And they had
Mm.
and Paramount had just launched UPN. And UPN was depending on Voyager to carry the day. And the cast of Voyager felt like they had the weight of the entirety of
Mm.
UPN on their shoulders.
Can
So it was a
imagine.
completely different vibe, much more serious, much more a sense of okay, we have to be grown-ups and we have to be, we have to no smiling, no laughing, no showing of your teeth.
Oh,
It was
Thanks.
such a
Oh,
completely
man.
different
Oh.
atmosphere from TNG, and working with Patrick, who would come in singing and doing a little soft shoe across the stage, and Marina with her bouncy hair, and she'd just go bouncing along with her hair bouncing. I mean, it was all so much fun because no one took themselves seriously. Everybody was just, there to support everybody else, cast and crew.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think it showed. I think it showed.
Mhm. Wow. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I think it did show. I mean, and we
Mhm.
see, there's so much fun when they come to conventions and stuff. They're
Oh
really,
my God.
I mean, at least to us, it's seeming
Mhm.
like, I mean, we're not hanging out backstage with folks, I'm just saying, like appearance wise, it looks great, But I want to move on from there to, we get to our activist and our warrior. And we
Mhm.
call you that, Michelle, because we see you fight. And I don't just see you fighting in your roles, but
Mhm.
because you fight for people's rights in your real life, and we
Mhm.
really admire that and we really look up to that. And I know like Sabrina got some stuff to ask you because she's been like, oh, I can't wait to ask her.
Well, and we've heard Viola Davis and Taraji P. Henson come out and make some headlines about pay disparities, and not just pay disparities between men and women in Hollywood, but specifically between white women and black women in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And I'd love to know if the unions can or have done something about that.
Well, I mean, what's so insidious is that we all know that that is true. It's just not blatantly spoken about, right? So you could say, why am I getting this lower pay? And they'll be like, no, 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 this is, but business affairs, this is how it's broken down. 1 to 3 is going to get this budget, 4 to 5 is going to get this amount, 7 to whatever. But I know, I mean, one of my first series, I remember knowing that I had already had, no, it wasn't my first series, like my third series. And another person who was a white male was having their very first contract. And I knew they were getting more than me. And I, because even back then, little Michelle still had a big old voice. And I was like, excuse me, pardon me, what's going on? And I remember my manager saying to me, I know, honey, I know. It's just you're a woman of color. And that means you're on the bottom of the totem pole for pay. And the fact that it was this sort of given, and I said but it still happens. It still happens. There is this concept that I mean, Octavia Spencer, had the whole thing with Jessica Chastain. And when you have to thank our white allies for stepping up to say, hey, wait, how much is she getting? She's not getting a quarter of what I'm getting. No, she needs pay equity. And, I welcome our allies to step up for us.
Yep.
I'm also one of those that, I really encourage actors to talk about what they're making. Don't be silent about your fucking pay. If I don't
Yeah.
know, I need to know what pool I am negotiating in.
Yes.
And it's only told that this is my number, and then I think, oh, well, this is my number. Oh, so that must be their number. Oh, it must be in this number. Okay. And I'm perfectly fine walking about my day. And then somehow I find out from whatever someone else's pay is 2-3 times my pay. That hurts. Absolutely, that hurts. I'm going to take that pain. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to cry or whatever. And then I'm going to go, okay, now I know the numbers that we're talking about. Let's renegotiate. And so that's the whole thing. I mean, with our union, I'm a patient person. I will be doing this until we have equity in all of the environments, and equity to all, right? To
Mhm.
all.
Yes.
All marginalized communities. And, like I said this, I think I probably said this the last time. When John Lewis and all of our civil rights activists that we are, here because of, when they marched across that bridge, when they sat at that diner, they didn't do all of this to sit at a diner.
Right.
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 They did all of this
Right.
to own
The diner.
the fucking diner.
Mhm.
Can't own the diner. We can't own the diner until we sit there. And then we work behind it. And then we become the managers. And then we own it.
Right.
And right now, maybe in some categories, we're working behind the counter. Maybe in some categories, we're the managers. But we still we don't own our
Mhm.
diner. And we need to
Not
own
yet.
our diner.
Mhm.
So that's why I do the work I do. I want to empower actors. It can't be me alone. My brothers and my sisters need to step up, stand up, speak out, tell their agents and managers to stop being such wusses and be aggressive when you
Yeah.
have a person of color that you are fighting for.
Yep.
Don't let
Yes.
somebody say, listen, I know, but I know you just pitched your white actor who's going to get this money,
Mhm.
and then you're going to negotiate now with your black actor at this money?
Right.
No. You need to do that. And I want to find ways to codify securities of that. The one thing that everybody has to understand as actors that the union does, what the union does when we have our minimums, that is the base minimum. We can only codify the base minimum, which is protecting those who don't have strong agents. So at least they get a concept of a wage that they can try to make a living with. But this is the base minimum. Our people, our representatives, the people who work for us, have to work harder, stand up, be stronger, be brave, and say, my client is worth more. And
Yeah.
then we all have to understand, acknowledge, and own the fact that we are worth more, and to say no when they say, I'm only going to give you this much. No is one of the most powerful words that an artist can have.
Yes.
The most powerful.
Yep.
And on that same statement, when people say yes to things that are not their worth, they not only undercut themselves, but
Everybody
they
else.
undercut all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand that. I understand it. I understand needing to take a job. God knows I understand that. And sometimes you have to say, yes, I hear that.
Yeah.
But just understand each time we do that, what we're doing. Because we are setting a precedent. We are letting them know that we will work for less.
That's
And
right.
we need to empower ourselves, empower each other, and tell them, because here's the truth. I fought really hard to get the equity for people of color in the hair and makeup trailer, right? You guys know that I've been working on that for
Yes, we were going to ask you about
Next
it.
question.
We were going to ask you about that.
Literally, next question.
So nice segue. So nice segue.
Appreciate
I've
you.
been working on it. I've been working on it forever, right? Because 30 years in this industry, I know I have always had this issue. Unless I'm working on a black set, it's always something. It's always something. God, it drives me crazy. It's always something. But I want to let you know how insidious our industry is here. When the proposal that we all had put forward, there was Jason George, Yvette Nicole Brown, Tiffany Cox, Avis Boone, Ezra Knight, Linda Powell, all of us on the negotiating committee, worked really tirelessly on trying to make sure that we would have rights and get people of color in the hair and makeup trailer. In the statement, the proposal, we had wanted certified, skilled cosmetologists, because by the way, they have it in New York now, and I think they have it in California, but before you didn't have to study ethnic hair to get your certificate in cosmetology. Thank you very much. We're an afterthought.
Right.
It's an elective thing. You can do it if you want. Wrong. But, so the words were certified, skilled cosmetologists who are proficient in ethnic hair, right? That was from when we started going into contracts in July. They wouldn't move with that. They wouldn't accept it. The whole time, wouldn't accept. We went through our strike, doing our negotiations all the way to that last week. I'm like, oh, we can't let this go without having something in there, some protections. Had to take out certified. Took out certified. Had to take out skilled. What? Finally, this is the language that they would allow us to put in that contract. I had to take out ethnic hair.
Stop.
It says people who are proficient in consultations with people who are proficient in all hair types. I mean, they can't even give us that. Do you know?
Wow.
And
Words,
this is the
words are
thing.
powerful.
Words are powerful. And this is the thing about why I want to make sure that we empower ourselves, because the truth of the matter is, if you have a person of color in a hair and makeup trailer, everybody is taken care of.
Thank you.
Because
we know
have
how to
all
do everybody's
that
hair.
skill. Everybody. We have all that skill, you guys. That means we are valuable. We're valuable.
That's right.
Just in the baseline of what we do, the minimum of what we do, we have more skill and more talent than the ones who are getting certified in these cosmetology schools that don't need to study our skills. You know what I mean? So this is why, you know, I'm going to do as best we can to always, you know, put as much in the contracts, fight for our rights, fight for equity, fight for fair pay for people behind as well as in front of the camera. But we as a community, we have to value ourselves. We have to you have to empower yourselves, and you got to understand the power of no, and and give yourself, you know, give yourself a number. Give yourself a number. Like, I am worth this. I'm worth this.
Right.
Let me put that out there. Don't let them tell you. You put it out there. I know I get so long and I get so passionate. I'm sorry.
I love it. I love it. Bring it.
I love
I
the
remember
passion.
I remember reading an interview with you, and I heard you talking, and you said something about you were on a show and they told you that the CEO, Black CEO women have their hair straightened, and they made you straighten your hair.
Girl, they told me, they said, we did some research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
They did research.
What research exactly?
And they said the words they actually said to me, that the audacity, the words that they actually said to me was that the research that we found is that a woman of color will only be taken seriously if she is the CEO of her own business, if she has straightened hair. What the?
Yeah.
What
My mouth fell off.
Honey, my head. And you know, as I said, you know I have no problem talking, but that took my voice away.
Yeah,
it took my voice away.
Yeah.
It hurt my soul.
Yeah.
Because all I could think of was, my name is Nichelle Hurd, and this is, you know, I got my braids in now, but you know, I have my crown, I got my curls. And all I could think of is that Nichelle Hurd could be a lawyer, a doctor, a barista at Starbucks, work as a bank teller, and she would still have her curly hair.
Right.
That I couldn't have a career unless I straightened my hair. What, so that I can be homogenized in the concept of beauty that I was never included in the first place?
In the first place.
Right.
In the first place.
Can I just give a shout out to Julia Walker, who for decades was the Lone Ranger out there. She was Whoopi's hairstylist, and she had no contemporaries for years.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
It
And
is
see,
insane.
and how many of us know her? Like, we don't.
Yeah.
We do, yeah.
Thank you
I
for
know.
saying her name. And now we know, have another
Exactly.
Shiro.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
LeVar's wife, Stephanie.
Right,
LeVar.
say that again?
Oh,
LeVar Burton's wife.
Stephanie came much later than.
No, I'm just saying that now the
Yeah.
people, Julia helped pave the way so that the Stephanies are now possible.
Right.
Yeah, I watched the two of them fall in love.
Oh, wow. Oh, God. Okay, see, that's a whole nother show.
That's another show right there.
You see how she did? You see how she just dropped that on
Tricky
in there
love.
like that?
Mike tried.
Don't get me distracted with Mr. LeVar Burton, who
There's a
just
story.
gets
Oh,
finer
God.
with age. Come on,
I love him.
brother.
We
love
share
you.
a birthday. LeVar,
Ooh, now.
not the same year.
And Adele, you're absolutely right. The set of our third season with that whole crew, that next gen, it was nothing but love and laughter and playtime. I mean, I just went to Comic-Con this last weekend where Jonathan Frakes was, and like he's just, you know, he just exudes love and generosity. And as you said about Patrick, he ushered me in and guided me and has made it he's a gift. He's been a gift. He's been a gift. It's an amazing group of people.
We are almost out of time, so I don't want to, I would be remiss if we didn't get to our captain. We started with Ms. Nichols, right? Who was the first on our screen in Trek for us representing, and we get to finally Ms. Dawnn Lewis and Captain Freeman, who is fully pipped. That's a
Fully
important thing. Fully pipped,
Not
y'all.
a commander, fully
Not-
pipped.
Right? Didn't start off as no commander and no second in command, no shiggity, none of that. She was fully
That's
pipped,
right.
you know?
That's right.
So, I'm just we have some questions here, but I know we're running short on time. So I'm just gonna roll them into like one question, and it's a big question, okay? So, I mean, first of all, we were gonna ask you about, since you were friends with Ms. Nichols, what she thought, what was her reaction to when you got this role and being part of the Star Trek universe. And we were also going to ask you, what you think about the importance of Captain Freeman is in the Star Trek universe. I mean, we have some other questions, but those are ones I really want to get to.
Let's see. I'll try to sum it up. She was
Take your time too. Don't rush.
Yeah, no rush.
seeing her on television when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old when Star Trek first came on television. I hadn't seen anyone of color that beautiful, that intelligent, that magnetic, that badass, that, she was doing communications, but she was the one that everyone came to. Everything came to and through her. When you were communicating with any other species, she was given such regard and such respect that I had never seen being given to a woman, much less a woman of color. It was such a man's world. And I grew up in a home with domestic violence. So watching my mom even speak her mind got her back of my dad's hand. So watching this woman communicate with otherworldly beings and being smart and able to pick up a phaser with the best of them, and in those boots and in that mini skirt, I don't know, Miss Marian, all 3 of y'all, if y'all were 3 Nichols girls growing up all looking alike and sounding alike, I would have been in a whole bunch of trouble.
It was fun.
It was amazing. It was remarkable to see all of these men defer to her.
Yeah.
And undeniably defer to her. And not just because of the way she looked, but because of the excellence that she brought to what she did. Star Trek in itself showed me it was possible to be in a world where you really could be accepted for your excellence, where you really could, it wasn't unusual for everyone around you, regardless of what color they were, what gender they were, what species they were, to be able to hold their own in the game. And that's the world that I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
So, you go through life and you grow, and realities, smack you in the face of what's what and who's who and who gets what opportunity, etc. So when you see her standing her ground, and not just her ground, but the ground for us as women, the ground for us as people of color, the ground for anybody who dares to be more than what the majority or those in control will give you credit for or give you opportunity to accomplish. When you see her standing in that gap, she was a superhero to me. And then when I got my opportunity to come through my career, through stage, through music, we had so many things in common. You get to know she was a singer, she was a dancer. She had all of these other amazing gifts. This one particular show launched her in a specific direction, but it did not diminish the fullness of who she was, which in itself was exciting. So when I got to California to do my first TV series, and I got to meet her, she was one of the few people that I had I'm like Nichelle. I'm not shy. I'm not. And I have something to say, I will go ahead and say it. And sometimes it gets me in trouble, but I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I don't know how else.
Hey.
Right?
Hi.
I met her, Beverly Todd, and Judy Pace, who
Yay.
were friends.
Mhm.
Again, two more women of color that were trailblazers in their own right, as sex symbols, as intellects, etc., on screen that we didn't get to see. But they introduced me. Oh, we want you to meet our friend Nichelle. We're going to go out and but no, they said Shelly. We're going to go out with Shelly and we're going to go to this thing and hear some music and da da da. And I walk in and it's Nichelle Nichols. First of all, I had no words. And like when I first met Lena Horne,
Yeah.
tears were coming down my face. I could not believe I was meeting this person in human form that I had raised to superhuman status.
Mhm.
And she was, first of all, she was always fabulous, head to toe, jewelry, just Boone had that thing he would say in the movies, you got to coordinate. Yeah.
Every time.
Always with big bangly baubles and looking like some ethnic put together princess
I
person.
love it.
And it was always fabulous. And her speech was always elevated. And while she was elevated, she was right down there with you, honey. She was very, very neighborhood and true to who she was. And I loved that about her. And I got to tell her my story of how inspired I had been in my entire life and in my journey because I got to see her. And then we went from that to being friends. So, okay, flip to now, like any working actor, you want the next gig. I do a lot of voices for animation. I do a couple of dozen shows now. So you get the call and you have to sign an NDA for this new show. It's about outer space. And they want you to read the role of Captain McDuck. And it's like, oh, yeah. So, they all had all kinds of other names. We had no idea. So I auditioned for it and I did my best impression of if James T. Kirk and Avery Brooks had a child.
Love you. Thank you.
Yes. I was the love child of the surrogate parents if they were lovers and said we need to have a baby and we'll have some more women to carry it for us. You give a sperm, I'll give a sperm, and this is what it will be. And that was what I did in my audition. And they were like, okay, great. And they had me improv a few things. Okay, great. Next thing I know, I get the call, you booked the gig. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll get another check. Fabulous. So we get to the table read. And I am sitting there with Tawny, with Jack Quaid, with Noel, with all these people. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And they have your seat, with your name on it. And we turn over our scripts and it says Star Trek Lower Decks.
Yes.
like Star Trek. And they had a room full of people for our first table read. And I was like, no, get out of it. And it was everything I could do to maintain my cool. I was completely unsuccessful because up until that point, we had no idea what it was that we had now been gifted with. And I was the captain. I was not Captain McDuck. I was Captain Carol Freeman. And it was everything I could do to really contain myself and not fan myself out of a gig.
Kind of like we're doing right now. So I get it.
That's fabulous.
Ran out of myself right out of this gig. It's like, oh, she was really much better in the audition. So I left there and I literally called my brothers and I said, you will never guess what gig I just booked. And I never do that. I never do that. And I told my brother, they're like, get out of here. You are lying. I said, no, you don't understand. I am captain on the next Star Trek of this franchise. They were like, are you kidding me right now? So no. And the next call I made after my brothers was to Nichelle.
Oh.
And I was like, Auntie Nichelle, you have no idea what job I just got. And I told her, and she said, you okay? I said, I don't know. I'm getting emotional now thinking about it. I was so elated, and she knew what my journey was and where that show sat in my spirit. And I thanked her. for paving the way. I thanked her for allowing me and so many others to stand on her shoulders. And I wanted to do her proud in continuing her legacy, integrity, and with fun. I mean, it's a comedy, but at the same time, this just didn't happen. A woman captain, we had Janeway. We had one other, why can't I think of her name now? Beautiful Black. Barbara.
You talking about Madge Sinclair? Wasn't she?
Madge
Sinclair.
Sinclair.
She was an officer. Thank you for saving me. That would have been and now here I am. And you know, and so we had that conversation, and she said, Dawn, I'm really excited for you. I'm really proud of you. Then we went to, they thought we were maybe have one season because we didn't know how anyone was going to respond to an animated version of the show, because Trek fans are very serious. They're very specific. They're very particular. They know how many stitches are supposed to be in the seam of your shoulder.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of do.
And just watch the show and laugh. Thank you. So we have such, I mean, they're amazing. I don't want to call them fans, but we have amazing family extensions of our show that have gone through every machination of Star Trek that there is. And our creator, Mike McMahon, loves putting Easter eggs in our show and loves little drops of other, from the different variations of the Star Trek world, and bringing back original characters. So we got to Comic-Con, and we were going into our 3rd season. And we were on the panel, and our executive producer knew my story with Nichelle. So I'm on stage, and he asks me the question, and I look at him like, you really set me up. I'm not happy. Because you know I'm about to get emotional. And and there's that clip of me like bawling on stage talking about Nichelle and what she means to me. So after that was on a Friday. That Sunday, I called Shelly, I spoke to Kyle, and I told her what happened. I said, a bunch of people are probably going to call you and tell you that I made a fool of myself in front of everybody, crying and talking about you. And she says, no, I haven't heard that yet, but it sounds delicious. Delicious. And she says, you have to come to the new house, you know, because she was not out here any longer. And I said, my summer's a little crazy. And as soon as the summer is over, I will come on down and see you and be, you know, visit with you at the new house. So I was on my way to the airport. I got off the plane on Monday, and I land on the East Coast, and I'm in baggage claim, and I turn my phone on, and all of a sudden I get all this burst. I'm so sorry to hear about Nichelle. I'm so sorry to what happened to Nichelle. So I immediately called Kyle, and he said, yeah, Dawn, you were one of the last people that she spoke with. She passed away, and I lost it right there in baggage claim. Where there are no accidents, we are all here, each and every one of us in our roles, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, as warriors, as leaders, as legacy carriers. And while it is such a critical role to bear, we are still human. We are still fallible. And I think that's what makes us even more vital than ever, is to never stop saying the names, never stop being transparent about our journeys. As Michelle was saying, be vocal.
Yes.
You want to protect your power as a negotiator, as a commodity, because that's what we are. In this industry, we are something to be sold and marketed and resold and repackaged and remarketed. That's the gig that we signed up for. But don't undercut me. Don't undersell me. Don't put me on a discount rack right after you buy me a new dress. Stop it.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yes.
But those are the conversations that we need to have, that we need to fight for, that we need to stand in solidarity for. And I am beyond honored, one, just to be a part of this world, to be a part of this possibility of diversity and inclusion, but at the same time, knocking down some walls.
Yes.
Just knocking down some walls. And I applaud our creators. I applaud the Roddenberry family for being committed to the excellence of this legacy and finding
Mhm.
different ways to embody excellence in something other than what the norm says it's supposed to look like.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
yes,
I'm so honored to
yes.
be a part of that. And each and every time I see another person of color, whatever color it is, when
Whatever
Hurd
color.
kissed the green lady, oh my God, the whole world shut down. The whole world shut down. She was not the white damsel in distress. She was the sexy green lady, the siren, honey. Oh, please. Stop it. And you saw, okay, this is just my interpretation. I didn't ask anybody. I wasn't there. I don't know. Marian, you may know. But that episode where
Oh.
William Shatner had to kiss your sister and they fought to make it look like this was the most difficult thing I want to just, you know, good and well, William Shatner been dreaming and dreaming about kissing up on the shelf for who knows how long.
You know it.
You know it. That's right.
Please.
That's
Not
right.
for me. This episode is your dream episode. Stop playing.
Y'all,
That's another
To say
podcast.
something,
I just got to do this. That's all I
to
got.
say something
Wonder
succinct.
how many takes they did.
We,
Wait a minute, do you know? 15? How many
We
times did she try
exist.
to slip her tongue? I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to.
Oh my God, y'all!
Now they got Spock in love with Uhura. Everybody wants the sister. Everybody.
Everybody.
That's right.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody, you know, it's just truth. It's simple truth.
I really need to say something, guys. Talk about advocacy, and I'm going to make this quick. The Sci-Fi Sisters exist because we advocated for Sonequa Martin Green. Had it not been for Sonequa Martin Green, there would be, I believe, no Sci-Fi Sisters. I had to put that in there.
Wow.
Mhm.
There you go.
She's another one. I watched her work and I was like, who was this sister? It was like she came out of nowhere and she was the
Mhm.
absolute right person to be in that role.
That's right.
Definitely.
Fearless. I mean, just,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
just fearless.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in love with her. That is our origin story.
Mhm.
And it is you know, but it started a long time ago for us,
Mhm.
when all of us were little brown girls, watching
I was
Miss
black.
Nichols.
I was black.
Okay, baby.
That's right. Speak up. I
Me
love it.
too.
Wait a minute.
Me
I was
too.
colored. I was
Black
colored. I'm
and
sorry.
Right,
brown.
you was
okay,
colored.
I was colored.
I'm a
back
black
then.
brown
Yeah.
girl.
We talking
Okay, yes.
60s. 60s.
She pays for
Yes,
being
ma'am.
the
You was
boo,
colored
and,
back
you
then.
know, we
I was
talking
colored.
about being black, and she'd say, "No, y'all brown. I'm black."
Mhm,
Right.
I'm
That's
black.
right.
I'm a
Okay,
black
thank you very
American.
much.
It
I'm
always
black. I was black. I'm black.
All right. Well, y'all know what I'm talking about.
Right
So when we were little girls and we saw Ms. Nichols up on the screen, that's when that seed was planted for all of us.
Mhm.
And we'll never let that legacy die.
Never.
You know, and we're so grateful for you all, because, you know, we see ourselves in you, we're living through you, and we're inspired by you, by all of you. And we thank you so much for literally everything that y'all have done. Literally everything that y'all have put up to do what you do, you know, for us. You know, I mean, we know it's your thing, it's your passion, it's your calling, but you do it for us. And we love you for that. And thank you so much. I can't thank you all enough for joining us and spending this time with us and bearing your hearts and souls with us. I mean, it's just so special. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I want to give
Thank
one more
you.
shout out to someone else who was like family to me, who adopted me and helped show me a better way to go through this industry. And that's Nancy Wilson. That was
Oh,
the very
yes.
first thing I thought of when I saw
Ooh.
the way that they drew my character. I had the Nancy Wilson white swoosh.
You did.
Yes.
Yes, you did.
Oh.
Yes. And I
And the
was like,
scatting.
like Aunt Nancy. I love
And the
it.
scatting, right?
And the scatting.
Yes. And it's, that's so much
Fancy
fun.
Miss Nancy.
Yes. As a singer, pretending not to be able to sing, that is so much fun. It really is. But just one legacy after the next. You know,
Mhm.
because they did not draw my character to be some frumpy,
Right.
you know,
Right.
jumpy whatever, like, oh, it figured she'd be in control because, you know, who would want her or what, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That kind of a thing, that kind of a stereotype. They made her attractive, they made her physically fit, they made
Mhm.
her intelligent, they made her exceptional, and she's human, like
Yep.
any,
Mhm.
Mhm.
like any of us. And yes, I showed up with a horrible little child that I'm doing my best to train her.
We try.
I
You
know,
know,
right?
you gotta. You gotta.
Right.
I love working with Connie. She's absolutely
Oh,
brilliant.
she's
Connie
such a
Oh,
gem.
she's a
is
heart.
Jack Gray, Jean Cordero, and Noelle Wells, just absolutely phenomenal. And Jerry O'Connell, and I mean, just the
He's the
cast
best.
is just
Yeah, he's so
absolutely
funny.
Yeah, you guys have a great cast. And, you know, y'all, I mean, it's been so cool talking to you that I almost forgot that we're here for a reason.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
And,
that's
and we're here to raise some money for Hollywood Food Coalition. And that is the reason for the season at the moment. And, Yvette, I know you got stuff to say.
Yeah, I do.
Well, say it. Okay.
All right.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
On this Dr. Martin Luther King holiday weekend, we ask for your help. We ask that you donate to the Hollywood Food Coalition as they do the daily work of making LA a city where everyone has food, community, and support. You can donate using the QR code on your screen, or you can text TREK to 53555, or you can go to www.givebutter.com/Trek Talks 3. All right, ladies, what are we going to do? We're going to donate.
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 Make it rain, y'all. Make
That's
it
Come on
rain.
now.
That's
Come
right.
on. Dig deep.
That's
Dig
right.
deep. Come on.
Ladies, thank you so very much for joining us. We love you all. And as we say in Sci-Fi Sisterland, peace, love, and hair grease.
Peace, love, and hand grease. Come on now. Thank you so much. It's a
love
pleasure.
it.